I'm Peter from the Daily Rios.
I'm Eric from longboxreview, and this is episode 52 of Peter and Eric's Legion Project podcast. Hello and welcome to the Legion Project podcast. I am your host, Eric.
And I'm your host, Peter.
And we are here today to discuss issue 52.
You always get the good numbers.
I know, right?
50, 52,
yeah.
You got 38. Not fair.
Hey, you started this trend, my friend.
I know.
But that's a little pants call out or call out? What's the right term?
Shout out.
Shout out. Thank you.
Nod.
Nod to Pants from CGS. So anyway, issue 52 of the Legion of Superheroes third volume. We'll also spotlight more characters in Who's Who issues and take a look at Adventures of Superman number 445. Join us for Rites of Passage.
Mm-hmm.
That was a rite of passage just getting through that, I think.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, I introduced myself. Peter's from the Daily Rios. I'm looking, the last Daily Rios episode was August of 2025. Not quite a year, but close enough. So, I don't know. I might have to rethink my opening, or I might have to put out a new episode.
I would vote for the latter, Peter.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you. You're going to want to put something out either right before or right at the year mark, just to plant your feet. I'm still here.
I know, and I'm coming up on the next year is the 15th anniversary, but I consider like the start of this year to next year, like the 15th year. And I'm already like thinking of things. And
of course you are.
Of course. But yeah, we are back doing another Legion. We have a good track record so far.
We do, yes. This has been great.
Knock on fake wood, whatever this desk is. Yeah. So issue 52. I don't have too much preamble other than we got some feedback. Oh, let's talk about our appearance on Long Live the Legion. We should do that.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so there is another wonderful Legion focused podcast called Long Live the Legion, hosted by Jim and Jay, and they are going through the Legion, spotlighting characters and various storylines, and some other things, interviews as well. I think we talked about that last episode, right? Okay. Anyway, they reached out to us, and we did a guest spot focusing on the death of Invisible Kid. Oh boy, Peter, what was that issue? Superboy and the Legion 203, 213? There's a 3 in there somewhere. I don't remember now.
Yeah, it's a good question. 203.
Okay, good. I knew there was a 3 in there somewhere. Anyway, so we like I said, we were on their show and had a great conversation with both Jim and Jay, and that episode is out as of the release. Definitely at the release of this, it's out as we record this. It's been out for a day, 2 days.
Yep,
2 days. Yeah,
34.
Yeah. So I want to thank Jim and Jay for inviting us on to do this. It was great to have a team up, a crossover with another Legion project. Another Legion podcast, and we hope to return the favor in the near future.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to break out of our format, but also, we talked about an older issue, right? So we don't usually do that here unless it serves the main story. And we both freely admit that, a lot of that earlier stuff, you're probably more familiar with it than I am. So it's fun to look at it within the context of like larger Legion history, uh, because that was the first time I read that issue. And, it was and fun talking about it with two other people who, are well versed in Legion lore, and both of them do reviews on websites, and they've just been part of like the Legion conversation for years before they even started the podcast. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun playing in someone else's space sandbox.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I thought I knew quite a bit about the Legion, and then I listened to their shows, and I realized I know next to nothing compared to those two. I do not have. They seem to have like an encyclopedic memory of a lot of this early stuff, and I don't. I simply don't. I came in. What have I said? The earliest kind of stuff that I kind of got into was in the mid 200. No. The around 220ish is when I started that back issue, when I was getting back issues of the Legion. That's when I started reading those and going forward. But there's a whole chunk of stuff I've never read,
Yeah.
and while I have looked at that issue where Invisible Kid dies, I never read the whole thing. So that was really fun to be able to pull that issue out of my long box
Nice.
and talk about it. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the lore and legacy and mythos that makes the Legion what it is, that makes the Legion exciting for like when I started reading it, it had already happened. And it had already happened probably even 5 to 10 years before I even started reading. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of the, zany stories and the big deaths and the traditions and the introduction of a lot of the chunk of it all happened not even by the time I was reading, well before that I was reading. So like by the time I'm reading it, I think, as we're discussing in this volume, especially, Levitz is sort of bucking trends or trying to wrap little bows around certain things. So it's probably why I'm not so married to a lot of the traditional stuff that makes the Legion, and certainly why I don't know it as well as other properties. So I get to discover it, here on the show, which is great. And when we did that episode, it was just fun to just sit back and listen to someone else talk about it and then question their ideas. That's always, I always like to do that, so it's fun. It's fun looking at it that way. So yeah.
It just occurred to me as you were talking, Peter, that I came in to the Legion. Well, like I said, with the back, as I was getting in the back issues, Mike Grell was my artist. And then as I started, collecting it monthly, in the present sense, then we get Keith Giffen and whatnot. But I think in response to what you said about the Legion lore and whatnot, it just occurred to me that I think it was when Dave Cockrum came in as artist before Mike Grell, because with that Invisible Kid issue was his first full issue, Mike Grell's first full issue of drawing the Legion, and it was just had such an impact. But Dave Cockrum also had a great impact, and I think that's when and I'm totally talking out of the side of my face here, but I think that's when the Legion kind of grew up a little bit.
Yeah.
Out of that whole Adventure Comics Silver Age silliness that they were stuck in for probably a good decade,
yeah,
or more, probably a little more than a decade. So
right.
So now I want to go. I want to go back and read even issues even earlier than 203, just to see how things progressed. Definitely when Dave Cockrum comes in.
Yeah. Well, that's a great segue to some Legion comics that I've purchased over the last couple weeks, starting on Free Comic Book Day. I went to various stores, and inevitably, as I'm going through my want list, I always try to see, well, let me see if I can, check off another Teen Titans Volume 1 issue or some random early Legion issue that I need, whether it's from Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, like the few remaining that I need, or anything prior to that. We had talked in one of our previous episodes, like Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes 200 feels like a good sort of stopping point, But of course, I've been going backwards, and I've had issues, even I've had Adventure Comics issues, for years now that I haven't read. So Free Comic Book Day rolled around, and I managed to find, I could have picked up a chunk of Adventure Comics from the one store, but they were just sort of like over how much I want to spend, And some of them, that store does a little trickery because they put Silver Age DC Comics in Mylars, so it makes them look really, really good. But then when you look at them, you're like, oh, there's like tape rips and the spines are not, they're janky. I'm like, it looks good because it's in a Mylar. But then when you like really inspect it, you're like, yeah, I don't know if it's worth the $7 and $8, Like, I want a reader copy, but I want to know it's a reader copy, and I want it cheap, because that's what I want.
Wow, I'm sorry, that's pretty smart on their end though, to try and sell these banged up copies by dressing them up very economically.
Yeah. So I didn't get this at that one store, but I got Karate Kid 15. So I got the last issue of Karate Kid. It has OMAC, and it actually crosses over into OMAC. Excuse me, Commandy.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I said it wrong. One of the Robins, I'm assuming it's Dick Grayson, makes an appearance in this. I was like, oh, look at that. So I don't have all those Karate Kid issues just yet, but I'm getting there. So like with Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, I was like, okay, if I'm going to buy back issues, I want to start from the earliest one I have and work my way back without making more holes, right? If I have issue 200, I want 199. Then I want 198. I just want to keep going back. Well, I blew that out of the thing. Well, not really, because I found Adventure Comics 380, which connects to sort of like where my collection falls. But it's a pretty nice copy, $6. The Amazing Space Odyssey of the Legion. So I was like, okay, that's good, right? Like that, pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, I recognize that cover. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, they have more Adventure Comics. So I was like, oh, no. So I could have picked up a lot, but I went with anything that was under $5. That's where I wanted to cut it off at.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, I kept going back and back. Let's see. So if I keep going back, I have Adventure Comics 370, right? I think that's the second Mordru appearance, right? I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yep. That is. Yeah.
The Devil's Jury. I got that for $4.
Insect Queen on the cover.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Then I got Adventure Comics 362. Featuring Chemoid. Yeah. No idea what that's about.
No.
Got that for $4. It's got, Cosmic Boy, and she's triplicate girl or duo damsel at this point. I think she's duo damsel.
If she's wearing that purple costume with the cape, she's still triplicate girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think. No, wait, I could be wrong. Never mind. Erase that.
Yeah, see, I just reference back to, our earlier conversation. Like, I have the issue where computer kills her body, but I just don't remember what it is.
Yeah.
And then I got Adventure Comics 357, The Ghost of Pharaoh Lad, with the checkered banner up top. I always love when DC Comics does the checkered stuff.
I love that issue. I don't have it, but I've read it.
Okay. And I got that for $3. So, now in my collection, let's see. Oh, I was looking to see what was the earliest Legion comic. It's not one of these. The earliest one I have is 330, Adventure Comics 330 from 1965.
Wow.
So, and I'm sure it's not in the greatest condition, but yeah, like every now and then I see these Adventure Comics and I'm like, "Ooh."
So you didn't encounter any Superboy with the Legion
Not the ones
title?
I need. I
Yeah.
need like three, I think, you know,
Okay.
three random ones. And then because I'm now moving past 200, now I could just go to the Superboy issues, right? Without the title billing, right? And it's like, oh,
Oh
and
my
when do I
God.
go into Action Comics, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh. So that's why I'm trying to be real careful. I'm trying to fill the gap before I go too wild. And then
I'm
speaking,
just Oh, sorry. I'm just going to be content that I have the three omnibus volumes of
okay,
Legion in the Silver Age because it has all those adventure and action comics and the Superboy issues, and I'm not gonna do what you're doing, but I applaud you, sir, for for you doing it.
or buying comics I'll never read. Um, And then I got one more comic. This is just recently. So Mile High Comics had a sale, 70% off. And do not buy from Mile High unless they're doing a sale, um, because it does cut things back. But even with the discounts, I wanted to make sure things were like acceptable. Like if it's still discounted and it's still above $5 for something that I think is a dollar issue or $2 issue, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
So, but they had some things that I needed, and the one thing I needed from the Abnett and Lanning run was issue 35, although this is probably written by someone else by that point. Yeah, Gail Simone. But it has an Adam Hughes cover, and I know this was like kind of hard to find because of that. Not rare, but just I could not find this issue. It's the one issue I needed to round out that volume. So now I have all of the Legion from the early 2000s. So,
I did not know that Gail Simone wrote the Legion.
just for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and an Adam Hughes cover is always good.
And Jurgens on the artwork. So, yeah, some recent Legion purchases. Still
Hmm.
out there collecting paper.
Well, speaking of paper, I have something here. Let me. How do we stop my background so you can see what I'm showing you? All right, here we go. So this is not something that I bought like recently, but it did come in my DCBS order. I'll say probably within the last 2 months,
Okay.
and I finally got they re-released it. It's the Legion 5 years later Volume 2 omnibus. So I've been waiting probably at least 2 or 3 years for them to reissue this because I obviously didn't get it when they first published it, and I had already purchased the first volume, um, also after they first. So I think I got both reeditions. Reeditions? That was not the right word, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
For both these. So now I've got this run. Now this is not. I don't believe this is not the complete run. No, it's not. It only goes through Legion 61, uh, some Legionnaires issues, and a few annuals and a few Valor things. So basically, it goes until the what is it? The reboot?
Yeah. Goes until the end of 0 Hour. Yeah.
Yeah, 0 Hour. Exactly. And I think I don't know. I was curious what you thought about this, Peter. I have all the issues, and I don't need another collection. But I was thinking, I don't know that I need if they came out with a volume 3. I don't know that I would need the omnibus
Right.
because I don't know. I think it was after the reboot where I just kind of fell off of the Legion, kind of generally for a while, and that's how I missed the Legion that you talked about just a second ago. I do have those issues. But yeah, I didn't get back into it until the 3 boot
Right.
with Wade and
Kitson.
Kitson. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you want the 5 years later pocket section, segment, whatever, because going beyond that into the 0 Hour reboot, into the Archie Legion, it's so continuous, and I don't feel it has it doesn't have like a definitive sort of like beginning, middle, end. It's not told that way. It's just, here's the Legion comic, two comics, two titles for this generation, right? Whereas 5 years later, you can, it's a volume, it's up to issue 60, whatever, right? And those issues, once you go past that, that's it. We never go back to that again, or you could even say like up to issue 38 and then 38 to 60, whatever, So, and there's a point to it. There's an overarching story. There's an overarching theme. Once you get to this, yeah, like why would you need, unless you're a completist and you just want to get it. But if you have the issues, you're fine. That's all you need. Yeah.
I think part of it too was I wanted, I want to buy these things to, in some infinitesimal way to say to DC, hey, you need to collect a bunch more Legion stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know.
Like the volume we're talking about.
Well, no kidding. Yeah.
Which would make a perfect DC finest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Several.
Or two. Yeah. 2 or 3, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, good. A lot of good Legion shopping. Now, will you actually read that big tome? Will you ever crack it open beyond curiosity?
It's given that yes, because I want to go back. Well, I am in the process of doing this, where I am reading those Legionnaires and Legion of Superhero issues that I have not read.
Right.
But I have the individual issues, so I probably wouldn't crack this open, except for as reference. Like if we, like with those the Silver Age volumes, when we are talking about something that relates to an older issue like that, I pull those out and do my reading there instead of like going on the DCU app, or if I happen to have the issue, I know I just it's easy because I have them on my shelf. Yeah. So I would do that.
Yeah.
But
plus the coloring is like different sometimes, and
yes,
it's really is a different reading experience. I just did that. I had that reading experience by reading something on the Marvel app and then flipped through the same issue physically. And I was like, wow, what a difference, because the coloring is just so garish and,
and if there are extras of any kind, I like to look at that kind of stuff, but sure. I'm not seeing anything in this. It looks like it's just the straight issues. So, but it's nice, it's a nice collected volume, and, I love the Legion, so.
That's all we need. We have some feedback. You want to kick us off into that?
Yeah, we got some nice feedback about our last episode. Not Rundgren on Blue Sky, bluegoon21.bsky.social, said or replied to me about this interesting analysis of this issue and the concepts within. Levitz loves Brainy, and I agree he had his thumb on the scale here. There are a lot of mental gymnastics here, but Brainy took justice into his own hands and violated the rights of Jackson by stealing his body. So we get one vote about that.
Talking about issue 51, right?
51, yeah. I have always said that Levitz always treats these things oddly. When Invisible Kid teleports for the first time and kills someone, it's brushed off as just an accident. Surprised it wasn't even mentioned in this story. I'm not surprised, actually. I feel like he's not Rundgren is right about how Levitz kind of brushes things off conveniently. He did that a lot in issue 51. We discussed that. So, and then I also got an email, which, by the way, people that are listening, we really appreciate this, whether it's on social media. The emails are awesome, though. Because it allows people to, send longer messages with and think about or at least convey what they're thinking about regarding what we are talking about regarding these issues. And Tim emailed me and start off with, "Hi guys, great deep dive in issue 51. Thank you. I mirror many of your thoughts and wanted to add a few of my own. To start, it makes sense to me that no one was in the room for the trial except the participants." Okay, I get it. I'm just teasing Tim. He and I had a back and forth conversation where I'm like, "Yep, you guys are right." While that could provide more drama, referring to the courtroom stuff, we learn more about the characters by hearing their thoughts in small groups without interrupting the trial, of course. And what is the Legion if not a bunch of social cliques gossiping about the rest of the team? And I thought that was a really great point. They are still, young adults, so they're still clicky, very clicky. I mean, the Legion is really clicky, right? Oh, yeah. He has some thoughts about Polar Boy, which I think we're going to bring up regarding this issue 52. But then he has some other thoughts here. I'll round it out. Finally, to a point that I talked about, why isn't
Polar Boy,
thank you, prosecuting anyone except Brainy? I feel like the whole conspiracy should have been on trial since they were all complicit. Yes. And here, I love that Tim responded to this because I made the joke about, duo damsel. Now, what do we call her? Just damsel. And he offered lonely lass. Ooh. I thought mine was bad. This is just like poking the bear. But I love it, Tim. I love it. He also says, I listened to a few Legion of Superheroes podcasts and really enjoy what each one brings to the table. In our case, a delightful, meticulous investigation of an issue and the other happenings during the month in which it was released. And that's all Peter, by the way, Tim. And often your impressions of the issue are enhanced and or adjusted as your discussion progresses, usually on my part, as do my impressions, he says. I look forward to following you both through the end of the Baxter run and wherever you go from there.
He also said in the previous, he said, it's been nice to see new ones popping up more regularly in 2026.
That's right. Yes.
I agree. And that is also on me because I'm jumping on the editing faster than I have in the past, so.
Yeah, I don't know how you, with all the CGS stuff that you guys are doing, I'm just in awe of your editing prowess because I can barely keep up with an episode every 2 weeks of my own. So
you just got to chip away. You just got to chip away a little bit of every day. You know what I mean? Even though that plan always fails, it fails me, and I wind up sitting for 4 hours to do an episode. But if I sit down and say, do an hour's worth of editing, which is a half hour of content, that's good. That burns you through, so, and yes, Tim, we do have, I always have plans for what's coming up. And I change my mind every now and then. There's been a couple episodes where I've been like, oh, you know what? I like this. And actually in this issue, my second read, I found a little more favorable than my first read. So and as I was going through, we'll go through the discussion. I was like, okay, but so we'll see when we get there. So, yes. Thank you for the feedback. More, whoever wants to email us, please do. Peter@thedailyrios.com or
longboxreview@gmail.com.
Okay. Shall we get to the issue?
Let's do that.
All right, here we go.
Issue 52, Rites of Passage. This is by Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen, still recognized as co-plotters in this issue. Mike DiCarlo, inker, John Costanza, letterer, Carl Gafford, colorist, Art Young, which I don't know that I didn't go back to look, but for some reason that name bumped up in my memory. Like, is this new? Is this a new person? As assistant editor, Karen Berger continues as editor with a cover by Steve Lytle and Anthony Tollin, as far as I could tell. But I don't know that I'm not sure that I'm going to include the colorist if I don't have that for sure, Peter, anymore. But this is what issue 52 is about. 52. Element Lad, Polar Boy, Saturn Girl, and Dream Girl discuss Brainiac 5's sudden departure. Later, Polar Boy is overwhelmed with what to do with the Legion tech now that Brainy is gone, and Dream Girl helps a bit. Polar Boy tries to recruit Dream Girl as the Legion's chief scientist, but she refuses, citing, quote, "Don't bite off more than you can chew." Polar Boy realizes that he's been relying on the other Legionnaires as a crutch and decides he needs to rely on his own judgment. About damn time, boy. On Braille, Magnetic Kid receives the world's equivalent to the key to the city, but he, Lightning Lass, and Tellus are there to investigate some earthquakes plaguing the planet. Just after Magnetic Kid receives his award, they must spring into action to protect the assembled Braillians from a quake. Shadowlass waits on Daxam for Mon-El's surgery to be completed, and later the doctor informs her that they could do nothing for him. Mon-El awakens, and Shadowlass tells him that she has bound herself to him forever. Back on Braille, the team prevents a stampede of metal monsters who were spooked by underground rumblings. Tellus telepathically communicates with one of the animals and now knows where to look for the cause. On Earth, Blok laments his lonely existence when he meets another humanoid who offers to help. Finally, on Braille again, the Legionnaires discover a Gildishpan causing the tremors. It announces itself as Highwinder? I don't know. That's how I took it. Mm-hmm. And uses elemental powers against them. Highwinder gets away, and Lightning Lass, oh boy. And Lightning Lass compliments Magnetic Kid as team leader. So, not nearly as in depth as I did last issue, but it gives you a good sense of what's going on.
Yeah,
I hope.
So Art Young apparently did a run as main editor for the Legion series, starting with issue 7 up through 26. Considering we're in mid 1988 right now. And we have things like Invasion coming up and the Legion series coming up. Like I feel like they even make mentions of it in the letter column about like things are getting stretched, right? There's things coming. So that could be why Art Young is here now, and then eventually he transitions elsewhere. So
yeah, that makes sense. That's what I was kind of guessing, is that they're bringing somebody in to help with the load or prepping them for something they have planned.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. What do you want to do? You want to do general thoughts or cover?
Let's do cover. I don't know. There's not a lot to I don't really have a lot to say generally about it, so
Steve Lytle on cover, Rites of Passage. And it's a montage effect in the middle, using a storm, using lightning to create this sense of turmoil, I guess.
Which is odd, because it's not a storm; it's these earthquakes. But I mean, how do you convey an earthquake situation on a cover like that? So
right.
Plus, right. Lightning Lass is involved here, so it makes sense, in that way. But I actually like these montage covers that mm-hmm. they do. Mm-hmm. You get a sense of the story, even down to the recreating scenes that are in the issue. So
yeah, I like the cover. I mean, it's we've had a few covers that are montage like, mm-hmm. not quite to this level.
That's true.
I was trying to figure out, and here's my thing. I was trying to figure out if that center jigsaw puzzle-esque section, if that was the silhouette of somebody in the story, but it's not. No. Right? Like once I read it, I was like, oh no, there's nobody that could emulate or be a silhouette of. Because I thought that would have been really cool if that's like the big bad. But there is no big, well, I mean, there's the baddie, but he's not a big bad. So
right.
So in my mind, I was trying to make it something. But yeah, it perfectly encapsulates the issue. Titles have meaning. So Rites of Passage, every single one on this pretty much every character on this cover is having a rite of passage in the story in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So, good. More than serviceable cover. Certainly not in my favorites, but it's not just, I don't think
Yeah.
it's an average one either. I think, there's some thought behind this, which is good.
Is there such a thing as an average Steve Lido cover? Or does this come close?
Maybe. I guess because there's no center point. The lightning bolt is the main center focus, right? Which is like, well, that's not a Legionnaire, right?
Yeah.
So,
but
which is why I kept going back to that silhouette, because I was
Yeah.
like, that could be a focus point.
So at the top of this, though, it just occurred to me that it's a big storm cloud, and where the lightning originates, right? Is this a portent for things to come? Which is, I mean, usually the case when Levitz and company do like these catch up or catch all. No, what am I trying to think of here? Interludes. I'll say. Let's just call this an interlude issue. We usually then launch into something bigger, and so I don't know if that has anything to do with that, but if history proves anything, we're getting into something else, and obviously, like especially with Blok, there's an adventure coming.
Yeah.
With that, so
right. Right.
And I generally like it. I also wonder too, because these are like I like how you said puzzle piece, because that's a really good description of it. How much more did Lytle draw? Because we get just a little tiny piece of Polar Boy there in the upper left, and that scene with Blok below him. There's a whole piece of that. What you if he's establishing a scene, there's a whole piece missing. So I wonder, did he draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Probably not that last one, but 6 distinct full images of these characters and the scene they're in, and they chopped it up in this way for some reason.
Or he just did a lot of erasing.
Yeah. Well, it just makes me curious how what went into the construction of this cover, because of the fractured nature of it.
Yeah.
I like that. Oh, and then finally, so someone had mentioned this in the letter column, but we see those 2 fish hovering above Blok, and we've seen those 2 fish before in regards to Lytle's work.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was somebody comment about that, if we'd ever get more about them. And so I think that's when Paul responded, saying the stuff about how things are a little stretched a little thin. And so it might be a while, if Lytle could ever get to something like that.
Yeah. All right. General thoughts?
I mostly liked that we get more about the fallout.
Yes.
Of the trial, the conspiracy generally, and how that serves as an impetus for some of the characters, mostly Polar Boy. The whole Blok thing is just kind of, this new thing that's being interjected. Okay, that's fine. And Paul does that. We get a little bit more of, like I said, the fallout here, but specifically with Shadowlass and Mon-El, which I felt got real short shrift last issue. So this is good, and things are taken to a whole new level with their relationship. So I thought that was really, now I want to see more. What happens next with them? Unfortunately, I don't think that's resolved until 5 years later. So I'm curious though what does happen in this chunk of issues that I'm not familiar with Mon-El especially.
Yeah.
I think that's about it for me. What about you?
Yeah, I thought the issue itself started out very strong. I was like, great. I think this is an issue I've never read before. So I was
Same.
like, this is awesome. I didn't expect that we were going to continue on. That's great. ramifications, questions, things that we had questions about last issue picked up again. Um, and then we got like the next scene with the going on Braille, and I was like, okay, I don't know what this is. Okay, all right, that's fine. Um, as you said, Mon-El and Shady, awesome still, uh, all conspiracy driven. And then the Blok thing, which I really like, because it's, uh, as you said, it's something new, it's something different. And I just had this thought now while you were talking about it, and I was like, oh, it with Brainy's departure, there could be a sense, because I think Tellus goes through this as well, of everybody sort of wondering what their place is on the team, right? I don't think Blok necessarily goes into that, but he is talking about like his role as just a dryad, as just, being away from his people, and that's an identity thing, right? Plus physically he's going through changes. He's going through a rite of passage himself. Everybody's going through a rite of passage in this issue in one way or another. So Levitz doesn't give dialogue to that notion of everybody figuring things out, but Dream Girl says it's the Polar Boy. She's like, hey, you need to figure out what you want to be, right? Tellus has some things that kind of are brought up because of last issue and because of the events of the conspiracy, So that's why when I got to the Blok thing, I was like, okay, this is curious. And I know there's an issue, like you said, there's an issue coming up. So it's like, okay, that's great. Then we went back to the Braille thing, and I was like, okay. We went back to it, and then by the end of the issue, we went to a commercial break and never came back. And I was like, huh? Where did it go? I was like, am I missing what pages?
Yeah.
Levitz is usually good. One of his strengths is, even if it's a multi-part story, he's really good about making an issue sort of wrap up, whether it's thematically, whether it's on a good cliffhanger. This one just kind of fizzles. And even though it's almost like a soft cliffhanger in a way, right? Because they went to go up against this new Gildespan, but they lose. So okay, so we're gonna pick up next issue. Great, okay. But still, I was like, by the end of it, I was like, oh, that was like, yeah, that killed the release for me or whatever, however you want to talk about. I was like, this is, yeah. And then I read it a second time, and I again appreciated more of the stuff that I knew we would like. And maybe I was a little bit more generous with like how it ended. And what it made me think of is, you said something earlier on too, is that maybe, and I'm jumping the gun here because we have to read more issues, maybe this is just a new way that they want to tell the Legion book right now, where it's super episodic to the point that it's not even going to end at the end of an issue. And the reason I say that is because last issue ended with the new version, the secondary version of Computo, looking like Validus, saying Brainiac 5 has left. He's left you his lab. Good luck. And we were like, oh, who's this new Validus Computo thing? What the heck's going on? And then you open up this issue and you're like, oh, okay, they're going to explain it. Okay, great. So then we get to the end of this issue and it kind of just fizzles. So now I'm thinking, when we open up next issue, is it going to beat? Like, is it going to go to the next beat that we were expecting? So I feel like maybe this is Giffen's sort of, his hand on this kind of storytelling. And we've had issues like that before, where something random happens at the end. I'm thinking of not this volume, but like the previous one, where like it'll end on a joke, or it'll end on just a random ending, right? And then the book ends and you pick up because it's a title with 1,000 characters. So it's like not everything wraps up in a bow. And I know Levitz likes that. So I'm not gonna hate the issue for that because I'm gonna see, is this part of this? Is it like a new storytelling thing that Giffen is trying to suss out with Levitz, and like, hey, we don't need to end it, just wait till the next issue, you know? I don't know, but that's how those are my initial thoughts on the book.
That's a great observation. I completely agree with how I felt that way too. Is, you know, the very last panel of this is just Magnetic Kid going, ah,
Yeah,
in response to something Lightning Lass says. And yeah, I will say I felt like just the button from the last page of the last issue was much stronger,
oh yeah,
considering what goes on in that issue. But yes, yeah. And in fact, when you were talking, I was like, ooh, let me just flip through the issue real quick and see where the weight of the art is. And obviously it's you know, I would say the main plot, which is reflected by the cover here, the larger area shown is the Braille stuff.
true, true.
So what and I totally attribute that to Giffen. So what I imagine is, I'll circle around to that in a second. So what I imagine is, as they're co-plotters now, right? So they come up with this general idea of the issue. Keith goes and draws it, and then Paul comes back in and does the, you know, they're doing the Marvel method essentially, does the dialogue and stuff. And so it seems like I would agree with you that Giffen is definitely having a heavier hand. So yeah, what does that mean going forward? And are we okay with that?
Right. That's the question. Right. It was jarring this issue.
Yes.
And we'll just have to see what future issues are like, what the reading experience is like, because we've already heard from like creators and anecdotes, but from J.M. DeMatteis and Jeff Lemire, that they get artwork back from Giffen and they're like, what is this? And he's like, I don't know, you're the writer, figure it out, you know? So, you know, he just got to that last page and he was like, I'm bored, I'm done. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like, right? Or maybe he had more that he had done, but they couldn't fit it in. I don't know. Yeah, it seems a bit strange, but is this another, as we've talked about before with Giffen, and you know, something that comes up in the Fife files that we've talked about before, with Michel Fife going through his Giffen focused episodes. You know, Giffen goes through these stages probably more so than I've ever realized, and more so than other artists that of this time that I can recall. You know, you could like the immediate one, or the one that jumps to mind is George Perez on Titans, but that was mostly because he, like when they did the second volume, the Baxter volume, where he inked his own pencils there for the first few issues, right? And so there's a distinct difference between what his art looks like when he inks it versus when somebody else. But so that's not quite the same thing.
No, I would say what you're thinking of is like Frank Miller. Like Frank Miller from Daredevil to Ronin to Dark Knight is like, just so different. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sienkiewicz did that too. Sienkiewicz,
that's true.
Really, you know, his Neo Adam phase to his New Mutants phase to his Elektra Assassin phase, you know, yeah.
Yeah, that great point. Great points. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Frank Miller. That would be because I wasn't familiar with Sienkiewicz's work back then. So I wasn't thinking about that, because I'm just thinking about what I was reading at that time and my response to it. So, but yeah, Giffen is definitely evolving and just wanting to play.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not, he just wants to play. And so I will give him the benefit of the doubt in terms of an issue should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we do have that in relation to the main story, but wasn't very satisfying. Is my only comment about it.
Yeah, and we in the way that I like to do these podcasts and these episodes, every episode number matches a issue number, right? So this is issue 52, episode 52. We like to go in publishing order. However, because of, and this was even before I read the issue, because I knew that this story kind of continued on into the next one, we should technically, the next episode should be the Tales on the next annual, because that's publishing order.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 weeks later is issue 53. But even before I read this issue, I was like, well, I was kind of like flipping through it. I was like, I don't know, let's just keep going, even if there's a little, mix up in the continuity or whatever, because this just feels like it's not done, right? And we'll do the next one. Now that I read it, I'm especially glad we're not going to do the annual, because I'm like, I got to read the next issue. I can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't do the annual, because it's like that's a whole other brain, right? Knowing that, first of all, Starfinger, what? We got to go through that again. It's a different art, like, no. We're going to do the next issue, even if it is 2 weeks out of order, whatever.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. It would be very disjointed to jump into that Starfinger thing again.
Yeah.
Which I know we're not. This is not that. So maybe I'll save this for the next, for that Tales. But why did they do it this way? Why did they throw that story in as an annual? Yeah. Scheduling. Yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, I think the theme of rite of passage, I looked up a few definitions, obvious ones, a ritual, an event, an experience that marks or constitutes a major milestone or change in a person's life. One of the definitions that I really like is to celebrate the social movement of individuals into and out of groups, or into and out of statuses of critical importance to the individual and to the community. I was like, ooh, that's cool. I like that, in reference to, I needed that to make me like the issue better than I did when I read it. And through that lens, I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
The obvious one being Polar Boy, and in a sense of like trying to mature his leadership. Blok, in the sense of he's physically going through, those are the two very obvious ones, but then there's some other ones too. So we don't have. Go ahead.
I would include Magnetic Kid in this.
Well, I was going to say, yep.
Okay.
But that one I feel like is the one, it's being thrust on him by his people and by Lightning Lass.
Yes.
It's not really him. So they're making him be, like, when they go to Braille and whoever that guy is, the high muckety muck, and he's like, he was a better Magno Ball player than his brother, and he may possibly be a better Legionnaire. I was like, come on, it's Magnetic Kid. I don't even have to know what's going to happen to him to know that that is not going to happen, right? And whatever is going through Ayla's mind about it, it's like she's trying to force his change, and it's like, yeah. So I feel like that's happening around him, not because of him.
Yeah, but I totally agree with that. But at the same time, sometimes rites of passages are thrust upon you.
True. Yeah.
And it's how you deal with them that is important. And that actually makes me excited to read a little bit more, because we've been dumping on Magnetic Kid for a while. Oh, yeah. So I do appreciate that Paul and Giffen are finally starting to address him in some way. Right. So, but we can get into the particulars of what goes on here as we go forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a really good, another great valid point of how to read this issue.
Yeah. Do you want to go? How do you want to go through?
I structured my notes by the individual, the three major stories here.
Okay.
So do you want to do it that way, or?
Let's go the opposite way. Let's go from the lesser ones to the bigger ones, because sometimes we short shrift the lesser plots. So and listeners are probably like, "What? Don't do that." But it's our podcast.
Yeah. Because I arranged my notes with basically in how they're chronologically presented, and so Blok's last, but Blok is the lesser.
Yeah, let's do
so
that
yeah,
one. Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
think
he
that's a
does
good idea.
not get any coverage in this barely in this volume. So, um,
Well, that was my first note. Blok has been such a background character, um, except as a foil occasionally for Timberwolf,
yeah,
and fawning over White Witch, who has been gone now for several issues.
right.
So he's they show him, he makes comments, usually questioning everything that's going on, which I don't know is necessarily for, I mean, because he's been around
Hmm.
since the late 70s in this comic, and they really have done nothing with him.
Yeah. So we're talking about
So,
pages 18 through 21 in this issue.
yeah, speaking of, rites of passage being thrust on you.
Yeah.
But what do you think of Blok, mopey Blok, as I put it? And because we have this, if it has been brought up in the past, it hasn't been played with in so long that it feels like it's a new thing that's being shoved onto the character. But it does make sense because he's, as far as he knows, he's the last of his race, which was the impetus for him joining the Legion of
The League of Super
I don't know why I always call him the Legion of, the League of Supervillains,
Super Assassins.
Super Assassins. Oh my God. Take away my Legion card.
Yeah, I mean, some of it could be we've been talking about Giffen messing around with the appearances of all these characters, right? Like I didn't even realize that he was slowly turning Polar Boy's costume back into like that little floofy, wintry fringe. Because the way Lytle drew it was just sort of like these. Um, they look like the same kind of thing, like a parka, like that big thermal parts of like winter jackets, but Giffen was like, no, we're going to put some fuzzy back on it again. And that's been going on for a couple issues. I didn't even know it. Right. And then you
Mm-hmm.
get that really great shot of him. And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. Giffen's like, he's totally changing that costume too.
Yeah.
So he's changing Blok, but they're going to make it a story point. And I do like that he says, as he's trying to figure it out, he says Brainiac thought it all natural, but he truly knew nothing but his own logic as a guide. Well, Brainy's gone, right? So, like, again, I know that Levitz isn't making this a consequence of what has happened, but in a sense, you could kind of make it that, why is that Blok is off on at some museum where they have a exhibit with his people, and um, uh, while he's walking around, everybody's like, oh my God, a Legionnaire. Like, that's what's so interesting about it. They don't care what he looks like. They don't care his problems. He's a Legionnaire status, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go back to that rite of passage thing. But he doesn't feel that. And because there's so many questions right down to his name, I'm Blok because that's what they want me to be, but what am I? So, and then you get this little imp. I don't know. Is he a, I don't know what he is. Is he a blue skin Kund or what? I was like, what the heck is going on here? Like, and that's for an issue for another day. Okay. I'm used to that. Paul Levitz does that all the time. Great. But the what he was going through felt like I was like, okay, this is cool because it's part of the theme of the issue, but it's also like, yay, Blok gets to do something. Okay. And it has connections, I think it will, as one of the letter columns references. It's like, oh, is this because of what's coming with like Legion and all that other stuff? So,
Well, and that's the first thing I thought of. I was going to ask you about this because I didn't look it up myself. Was this the beginning of Giffen's idea for what to do in the Legion book with I don't remember the character's name.
yeah.
The other dryad in that book, because as I recall, I read only, I'll say about 20 issues of that. But that character goes through transformations as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I really wanted to see, when did this come out first? I think it does. But this, obviously he's thinking about this and revisits it in the next volume as
Right.
well. So
Right.
I thought that was a really interesting connection. Um, I have to say, I don't like the way that he draws Blok's face in here. That weird nose structured thing. His nose is gone now completely.
Yeah.
So, but it makes him look more alien. He's still got these little almost like miniature volcanoes jutting out of his shoulders, and that becomes more pronounced later. I know. So yeah, I really like how he made that in story. I want to change Blok's appearance. We're gonna make it a plot point. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I do question though, because he says, "Is this what humans call growing up? And what has that to do with my kind?" Well, we don't know what a dryad's life expectancy is, but I think we assume that it's very long. And so, did he not see? Because did he? I do this a lot. I should finish my thought and then go to. He lived on that planet with other dryadians.
Dryadians, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so he saw, I assume he would live with his parents or other adult or whatever counts for adults at that point. So he can see, he must have seen some of that stuff, but he was also supposed to be very young in that story, in which those other characters saw the Legion come in and thought that they were destroying the planet that they were on. So, it just made me call into question this thought of his.
Yeah.
And why is he being so existential about it all of a sudden? But we'll just set that aside for now.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they were free roaming though, right? Like his people, when people landed on that planet, they were like, I don't even know. Are there people here? We know that there's signs of life, but we don't see them because most of them, they didn't reveal themselves, right? They look like they were like some were mountains, some were hidden, So I get the sense that they're a culture they don't move around a lot, right?
Well, okay,
And
so maybe they don't have like what we think of as the culture of how we interact with each other as humans.
yeah, like their
So
reproduction could be like, mom and dad mountain, and all of a sudden they have an avalanche and there's 50 kids, like, and then those kids just are like, down at the bottom and they never know who you know what I mean? We don't know.
That is true. That's a good point. The problem then with that, of course, is that we don't have enough information about what Blok is and what his people are like, because we've never gotten that. But they present him as humanoid,
Right.
even though he's a silicon-based life form, and apparently is the only one that the United Planets is aware of, or at least from Blok's perspective. And so, yeah, it's a tough one because I'm looking at this is how the character is being presented, but there's so much we don't know about the character. So maybe I will table my potential criticisms here of this particular situation until we get a little bit more.
The character's name that you were thinking of is Strata.
Strata, yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorites from that book early on. So
Yeah, page 19, the third panel, the interlac there says Dryadian, and that is what they're looking at. You can see there's someone kind of hunched over.
Oh, I totally missed that.
Because he's in the museum where, as the one person says on the previous page, says, oh, do you want to go here? Or do you, let's go see this other thing. It's just past the rock and crystalline element collection, which is where Blok is. He's like looking, because that's where he's questioning, right? Are there other people like I am? And then as he goes through, there is a Dryadian exhibit. So that's what that bottom panel is there.
What must he be thinking? I mean, we know a lot about what he's thinking, but he doesn't. There's no response. He just looks over and sees this, and if you're like me, you don't read the frickin' interlac. And I just thought it was just a rock formation. I didn't realize it was Dryadian, and I'm like,
yeah.
In this moment, that's oh my! I would have put a lot more importance on that if I were Giffen.
Hey, Giffin's like, hey, you want to be a Legion fan, you got to read the Interlac. The one up above, do you know what that one says?
No.
It says Andy Helfer is the Zodiac killer. And
okay.
Helfer is the editor of Justice League International, which is going on at this point. So,
Oh my God. Okay. Damn it. You've convinced me. I got to start
got to
doing
read
my
the fine
homework.
print.
So what is, since we're on the, the topic, what is that on the top of page 20? What does that start to say? That sign?
Oh, it's like TW something.
Oh,
So
okay.
it could just be like
TW.
an arrow.
Yeah.
TWE or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus.
So that's why I'm like, and then I was when we read Who's Who in the Legion #4, when they were doing like a tour through all the Legion worlds, and they talked about Dryad being destroyed and his people are scattered, and I was like, oh, are they like in space waiting to land on a planet where they can like, revive themselves, so it's like, that's why I think he's here at this exhibit. Like, these are the museum could be like, oh, we don't know if these are Dryadians or just moon rocks, like, so what is, so, it's cool. I think it's cool that and makes me wonder where this little imp thing is taking him. Is he going to take him to see his people? Again, I haven't read these issues, so I don't. If I did read them, I don't remember them. So that's why I liked it.
Yeah. I agree that talking about it certainly has given it more weight in my mind. I just found when I initially read it, I found this to be an interjection, out of the blue interjection.
Yeah.
And I wished we had gotten a little bit of a build up, just quick scene showing Blok starting to think about this at least, but we didn't get that. Just all of a sudden it's here. Okay, fine. Well, I'll move on.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you though about his little companion who appears to be able to read Blok's mind and appears a bit almost leprechaun-like.
Mm-hmm. That's why I say impish,
Impish, yeah. So, and the other thing I had about this was, this seems familiar to me. I've read this kind of thing before, and I couldn't quite place it. The one thing that came to mind is Levitz's Starman, the Prince Gavin Starman, which I just read some of in the Adventure Comics run. And so you have Prince Gavin and this guy called Mentor, who, while he's not an imp, he's an alien, but he carries a staff. This guy carries a cane. And Mentor is trying to shepherd, if you will, Prince Gavin through his transformation into Starman and what he has to do regarding the Empire. And then we get this, which, like I said, seemed really familiar to me. But I was curious if am I missing something else that maybe you thought of and whatnot?
Nope. The sign says they're jumping into a black hole, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wait until next issue or whenever to find out what the rest of the story is.
Well, but okay. There's that too. That can't be an actual black hole. This is what do you call it?
Yeah, I think he's just kind of using it as a
yeah. So there's either some sort of teleportation technology or he has that ability, right?
Right.
But the reason I am focused on this is because at first you read it like that. It's like, is they're actually going into a black hole? No, it's just an exhibit. So I felt like that was a little bit of a letdown with the presentation. But at least the guy isn't talking like Yoda. I'm happy about that.
Now, the odd thing is, if you go into the inside front cover and read the blurb for the Legion of Superheroes, it says 3 Legionnaires confront their pasts, Mon-El and Magnetic Kid return to their homeworlds while Blok reunites with the League of Super Assassins.
What?
I'm like, wait, what? Did you just spoil this story? Is that what's happening? Is that what's going to happen? I don't know.
Oh, man.
So, sorry for bringing it up, but
Yeah, I wish you hadn't told me that.
surprised you didn't read it.
I always forget to read those things.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Again, I don't know if that's true.
Right, but even if it isn't, it's like, well, why would you put that out there? Other than, ooh, return of old villains whoa, and Levitz has been addressing all of these past villainous encounters. So, but then, okay, other hand, I don't want Blok's story to be only about that particular moment in his past.
Right.
And we seem to be circling back to that potentially. Ugh, I don't. Now I'm less impressed with.
All right, where do you want to go next?
Oh wait, one more thing about this. Page 19, bottom panel. Is that Kent Shakespeare?
Oh,
It sure looks like him.
yeah.
I know it's not, but it's just weird that we have this bespectacled guy. Seemingly, I guess he's not really looking at Blok, but the prominence of him in that page or in that panel is conspicuous. So
I mean that's just Giffen. He loves to
he
loves to shift where the main character is. He does it in all the other most of the other panels too. So.
Yeah. Okay. Enough Blok.
Do you want to do Shady and Mon-El?
Yeah, that's pretty short.
Yeah, pages 10 through 13. As they're back on Daxam and he's being worked on, and one of the other definitions of rite of passage, they say here, reproduction, the achievement of manhood and womanhood, marriage and death are the principal worldwide occasions for rites of passage. So I kept seeing in like a lot of reviews, people are like, she does this thing where she cuts off her pinky. In this issue, she said she's bound to Mon-El, and everybody's like, oh, it's a Talokian ritual, and I'm like, okay, but you don't get that in this issue. You can assume something.
It's
like
implied.
that. Yeah, but it's not specifically said. But it's certainly sweet. I found it very sweet. I found her very sweet because she can be so cold and she's so not shady in these issues, in these pages, because she's just going through a lot of trauma.
Yeah, I mean, you see and feel how deeply she loves this man.
Yeah.
Which before, they've been together for a long time, but the expression of love is we rarely see that. And I mean, she is distraught. She's crying a lot in the last issue and this one. But more importantly, the vulnerability that is displayed here, that is the thing that I really loved, where, she's watching them work on her husband. Well, I shouldn't say husband. Working on Mon-El, her love, and I'm like, I couldn't do that. If my wife were to be operated on, I couldn't stand there and watch that. But then there's this distraction because this other guy is there in the operating theater watching this, which we've seen that I think in TV shows and movies where students are watching the techniques. And he starts commenting, totally oblivious to her pain, even though she's visually crying or visibly crying. And then she wraps herself in her shadow power and says, silence, darkness. Now all I need is hope. And this, because didn't we talked about Shadow Kid in one of the Who's Who's previously. And I think in his powers, it mentioned that there's a certain amount of silence or sound muffling that goes on with this. And we see this And I think I even remarked about that in that episode where I don't think we've ever seen Shady do that.
Hmm.
But we do here, and I
Yeah.
thought that's a nice little touch. But just her having gone through some stuff in my life, just the idea, I mean, literally pulling a blanket over yourself to cut off the light, to separate yourself from your surroundings. Um, I have definitely done that as an adult, and it is comforting. And
Yeah.
I really thought that the way that this was portrayed was really well done.
Yeah. 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 It's another question of, why are they doing this? Where is it going? I know kind of where it's going. I just don't remember the specifics. And it's like, wow, they're just taking off just taking Mon-El off the board, and Shady to a degree. Taking a lot of
Hmm.
Legionnaires just off the board and making it less of a team, as Element Lad says in the beginning, is like, this is going to destroy us. And it's like, it either does, in a sense of, it either does actively or passively,
Hmm.
the events of what happened. So I think that the one thought that I really liked in this sequence was how she says he's laying there calmly, and then she says he usually tosses and turns and has nightmares. And I don't know if she's talking about post Time Trapper or if that's just Mon-El's existence all the time, and the Phantom Zone just messed him up.
I think so, because in that previous thought balloon, she says he's beset by demons out of his memory.
Yeah.
Now you could take that both ways, but I really think this is something that he has been dealing with for a very long time, and this latest thing is obviously worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to talk about vulnerability, when he wakes up and he says, "Go away, don't look at me. I'm all scars and horror, not fit for you." That's Mon-El is usually, because he's the most powerful member in some ways, right? Or in many ways. For him to express himself so vulnerably that way, I am not the man I was. You must not look at me. You must not be with me. I just, again, I really enjoyed the interaction between these two in this scene,
Yeah.
and the way this is page. Oh my God, I need my glasses. 13. He says that to her, and the way that Giffen draws her face, she appears calm and almost comforting just in her facial expression, but then it immediately turns into she has a more stern look on her face, and that's where she makes that declaration about I have been praying to my ancestors for your recovery, and as part of my prayers, I have bound myself to you forever. And then that word is punctuating that last panel where he starts crying. Wow. I mean, there's a lot of neat things going on with the individual Legionnaires in this issue, but this has got to be the emotional heart of this issue.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good little sequence, and to know that there's more coming, and in one way or another. And I think it's the kind of storytelling Giffen and Levitz, probably probably Giffen more than Levitz, are interested in at this point. These are characters that have been around for 30 plus years by now, right? And Giffen doesn't want to tell stories about, mixed up identities and weird space ice cream shops and, things like that, or even just battles. He's not interested. He doesn't want to bring Doc Regulus back again, like
Yeah.
he wants to do things that move the story forward and make things interesting and create drama, so that's
Well,
why again, I'm like, the storytelling of this book is, it shouldn't take long to get used to, because it's everything I love about 5 years later. I just was just so, it just came out of nowhere, because it hasn't been that way in this book for a while, certainly.
yeah. Yeah. Well, two things on that. One is, the Legion has always, question mark, always been a soap opera,
Yeah.
and a lot about the relationships of certain members. And now we're getting back to that, but in a more adult way.
Yeah.
Relationships are more complex than, hey, I like you. Oh, I like you. Let's hang out. I know, and obviously, Shady has taken their relationship to the next level,
Yep.
whatever that means, right? For Tolokians, um, and then, which I appreciate. I like this because when I'm reading this, back then I am 18 years old, going on 19, and I feel like they're getting into relationship issues that I was dealing with at the time.
Hmm.
So my comics are growing up with me. And so I really appreciated that then. And then two, I was looking at this this issue yesterday real quick, and I'm like, wait a minute, all these changes that Giffen is introducing, the visual changes, the costumes, the way he draws certain characters. I was like, oh my God, I never realized this before. This is him doing 5 years later before he did 5 years later.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I just, because I'm not read these issues until we get into that last story arc where I joined the title again. And that was like a, what the hell is this moment? Because everybody's looks so different, but seeing it as it started with last issue 50. Yeah. It's like, wow, this is a total setup, total, not even a layup. It's there,
Yeah,
from the get-go. So that's interesting. So I'm curious to see where this goes, obviously, until we get to the end of the volume. Polar Boy or
yeah. Polar Boy.
Okay.
That's good. Page 3 through 5. And this is where Tim's comments and his feedback kind of play with, things we've been talking about, things that readers are picking up, So,
do you want me to
yeah, you can go back
read
to
what he said? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim said, my other thoughts on the issue focus on Polar Boy. I find his depiction increasingly confusing with every rereading of the Baxter run. During his time on the book, Levitz took a surprise leader vote for Dream Girl and used it to make her a deeper character, but given the same curveball with Polar Boy, he went in the opposite direction. This issue could have provided a lot of insight into Polar Boy as a person and a leader. Yes, thank you. That's what I've been saying. But during the trial, it's all surface level thoughts with no nuance or internal conflict.
Yeah, he's talking about issue 51, just so.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And he does bring up some specific things that I think we brought up in our discussion about that issue as well. Is there anything else about his feedback that you wanted to touch on?
Like he says here, he's shown in other issues talking out a problem with former leaders like Element Lad and Dream Girl, but we don't see him taking this trial out with anyone. And don't get his thoughts other than issue 50 when he worries that he hasn't had a chance to consider the options. A private moment of him questioning his own motives could have been so beneficial. So,
yes,
while that did not happen in issue 51, it does happen in issue 52.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, storytelling, we look at these issues by issue, and it's not until we get to the next issue that we can sort of say, okay, was this their plan? Do they look at an issue and then go, we should probably touch more on Polar Boy because of, but we get a Polar Boy scene in here that's probably a little too late, but it is here.
Yeah, it's almost like they're now starting, like you mentioned before, about the way they're structuring the stories, not the issues, but the stories. And so it's almost like we are looking through a window, and things what we're reading here are just passing by us, and so we're getting glimpses as it slowly goes by. The story continues, but we're only getting.
We're just in this frame. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I feel like you have to address it because he's Legion leader at this point. They give him, 3 pages. He's drawn well. The last time Giffen had his hands on him, it was in that Legion of Substitute Heroes special. Although Polar Boy himself wasn't necessarily the butt of the jokes in that issue. Like he was kind of, I don't want to say the straight man, but it was everybody else that were the maniacs.
Yeah, and I recall him being really frustrated with everything going on the way it's going on. Yeah, it's almost like he was yelling at Giffen.
Yeah. But again, to go back to the whole rite of passage thing, he's maturing. Is it because he was a substitute member that he never really could fully form himself, and because we said way back when he joined the team, he was like with gusto. He walked in with, his balls were in the room before he was, like he's like, I'm here. And then he went and he championed himself to be leader, right? Like he was out there kissing babies and shaking hands, and he wanted to be, and then he gets leader. He gets to be Legion leader. And then we've been saying, is Levitt's like undercutting his performance, So I like that they're addressing it. This is something that even Element Lad to a degree went through just a tiny bit, when he was leader. He was always confused about what he should be doing, but it works with Polar Boy because he is, number one, a new member, quote unquote, but also either because of his stature or not that comes into play, but just his character. He's already coming in as sort of like an underdog. And I think that's why Dream Girl really like tells him to like, come on, get with it. Now, I wish I wish at some point they would just say she was a member of the Substitute Heroes as well, at some point, but it's implied because she's having the conversation with him. So I guess, so yeah, I mean, there's, it was good. It's good to have this conversation again, too little, too late. It makes for a good art sequence that you talked about, shady and all black, and here's Polar Boy set against all white, like just a total blank background. That's cool, right? You get to see his costume. It's well drawn. Like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like that choice of where he's just like, suddenly Given's like, I can't be bothered to do a background,
And normally I'm like, oh, come on, give us a little something, but that totally works.
Yeah.
In that particular passage. So, Levitz, I still think Levitz is, pushing that scale on Polar Boy, but at least, now they're addressing it. I actually I did not mind, I should say, where he started, Polar Boy's reeling from this situation. He reacts a lot, out loud. He's not very, I wouldn't say he's a contemplative person, right? He comes across as whiny in that way, but at the same time, he is being practical about his whining, because he's like, how could Brainiac 5 do this? No warning, no transition, nothing. United Planets will be angry, might cut off our funding. Who's going to handle medical emergencies? How do I handle headquarters security? Cruiser maintenance and repair. Oh no, the mission monitor board. He is thinking analytically to a degree, because he's team leader. There are these things. He's forming his list, but it's the way that he approaches it that is the problem. There's no confidence. There's no leadership. Well, I would. This is his thought.
Because he then says, "Oh yeah, maybe I should have been thinking about this."
Oh, before
the trial, yeah. Right.
I'm sorry. Did you say forethought?
Forethought, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misheard you.
Okay.
I thought you said or thought.
Oh.
Yes, forethought for sure. Which is the leadership quality that he's definitely has been lacking.
Yeah.
He's been such a fanboy, and I'm sure we've talked about this before. He's been such a fanboy of the Legion that he's not approaching it like he. I don't think he feels like he has legitimacy, even though he was voted leader. They've not addressed this on the page, but this is just how I feel about it. So he has a inferiority complex of some kind here. And then, he loses control. Dream Girl's in the room. Polar Boy, it's getting cold in here. You're losing control. That's not just about a comment about his powers, right? And so that that kind of pushes him a little bit into I think starting to go down the right path. Yeah. It has more to do with what she says on the next page. You have to know what you can handle and only take on responsibilities you're able to manage. I've made those hard choices. Have you? And that is really where he's like, let me think about this for a minute. And we get that great panel that you're talking about. My fear going forward, though, is that he starts to be more confident and aggressive in his leadership style. And that will lead him into, if he goes too far, that will lead him into down the wrong path of leadership. Yeah. And cause even more problems. So we'll see.
I thought it was a good sequence. Using Dream Girl makes sense, right? Because I mean, he's trying to appeal to her scientific side. She's been a leader. She's been an effective leader. They have shared history. She's very blunt in her, she may be Dream Girl, she may be the platinum blonde, but she knows how to cut through, man. She knows just what to say, right?
Yeah, I almost wish they would develop this relationship, not necessarily a romantic one for these two, but keep going with this sort of mentor-mentee thing. With Dream Girl and Polar Boy.
But that goes against what that would go against.
It does
because
because
he's had a scene with Element Lad way back about like what would you do. He had that scene with Cosmic Boy in issue 50 about what's going on. Now he had and Dream Girl was the one who was like, shut up, figure it out yourself. It took a woman for him to finally
cut through the BS. Yeah. Okay. I guess selfishly, I just want more Dream Girl in the book. So, although, oh my God, I still cannot stand the way that Giffen and I forget the colorist now. Oh God, Gafford. Yeah. I do not like this Dream Girl look at all. Ugh.
I mean, it's funny because it's so 80s reflective. I was looking up, I looked up Blondie and Joan Jett, and I was like, it's 1988, man.
Sure.
This is what they look like. Yeah. I had to laugh at, or not laugh, but the letter column about this issue. There was a letter writer defending Polar Boy, like almost the same way Tim was doing it, like really lengthy one about stop browbeating him, do something, blah, 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 blah. And Levitt says, what I usually say, this has been one of the roughest years in Legion history. Kind of suggesting that that could be one of the reasons, not just like sort of his inexperience, but just that it's been a tumultuous time.
Yeah, the circumstances.
Yeah. But I don't buy it this time. What? I bought it with Element Lad. Element Lad went through, the Universo project and the death of Superboy and the Who is Sensor Girl mystery that practically tore. Like, those are things that you just can't, you can't, suss those things out. They're going to be terrible. This one, Levitz is like, I feel like he's trying to let himself off the hook. I'm like, no, you know what you're doing. You gave Polar Boy a bum steer. Like I feel like you were okay with him having a hard time, Mm-hmm. So I think it's more in Element Lad's nature to let the event sort of swirl him around. And this one, I feel like, No, we could have had it. This could have been a different path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you say that, though, the major thing that Polar Boy has to deal with has been the conspiracy and the fallout from that. But the conspiracy itself was messy. And, I mean, not even just in terms of Legionnaires acting out on their own, out of turn on their own, and not confiding in Polar Boy or not consulting Polar Boy or anything like that. And so I think this thematically, it makes a lot of sense for the way that Polar Boy is reacting to it. It's like you said, I think you said something like this, like it's like swirling around him, all this stuff. It's almost like he's within a whirlwind, right? And he's barely able to keep focus on one thing at a time. But conversely, it's only been really about the conspiracy. A little bit of Starfinger, but
yeah, I should let me correct myself. The election happened in issue 36. So Superboy did die on his watch.
That's true. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which kicked off the whole conspiracy thing to begin with, which even he was like, we're going to see if an immortal can die. Millennium happened through him. The conspiracy. I mean, he knew something was going on. He was the one that was telling Tellus to go, so again, it's like, I don't know.
He reminds me of the person who's put in charge, who doesn't have a lot of experience. He's young, maybe I shouldn't say he. He or she young and does their best, but maybe they were promoted a bit too early. And
keep going.
But the problem with that is that he had a tenure as a leader, and yes, it's not the same dynamic. But he has experience, and I think that has just been completely ignored.
I think that's why Levitz was like, I'm just going to let this book roll him over. Because why did the readers pick him as leader? Like, why him? It's Levitz's way of kind of like, okay, be careful what you wish for. So
you chose this, but I'm going to screw it up.
Yeah. I'm
That's
putting
true.
it more on Levitz.
I actually kind of like that, even though I really don't like the way Polar Boy has been treated. I do like is like Levitz is just going to throw us a curveball, I should say, and do things that are unexpected with this unexpected election result. So I'm better with it a little bit. Just since Computo is in this scene in the new form, there's even some comments about that. Do you have any other? Because we mentioned it last time how he appears, and we get this continuation here. Polar Boy says, "Look at the monstrosity he left behind." Dream Girl's like, "Computo, do me 2 favors, do this inventory, and never touch me again." It's like, talk about tone deaf, Brainy. I mean, you did it once before with the sphere that is Computo, but that's a real iconographic way of presenting Computo. Yeah. This is a much more weighty way with the Legion. I mean, yeah.
But he could have made him look like Prody. He could have made him look like, anything.
Anything, exactly. Anything. And he chose a Validus-looking creature. Yeah. Saturn Girl says, "I can't stand it. That little creature looks exactly like Validus did when Darkseid controlled him. How could Brainy do that?"
Yeah, that's weird.
All right. Anything else on that part?
No. I think the only thing we have left is the whole Braille stuff, right?
Yep.
Let's take a break here.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Jim.
You're a fan of the Legion of Superheroes, right?
Yeah, I've been reading their adventures for decades.
Me too. It was tough at first with all the characters, but now I think I'm an expert.
It's not too hard to get into the Legion. And to make it even easier, we have a podcast called Long Live the Legion. We talk about different aspects of all its history to help you out.
So whether you're a new reader in the Legion Academy, or have your own flight ring, or anywhere in between, the Long Live the Legion podcast should be on your playlist.
Okay, so now we come to the part that you said on the cover is the main focus. So this is all the Magnetic Kid, Lightning Lass, and Tellus on Braille, this whole sequence. Let's talk about this.
Main sequence, and yet the least interesting to me. Okay, so you agree with that. All right, good. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. We get a bit of adventure with the Trinity analogs. I guess you could even say that this is mirroring the not really, but mirroring like the first or the origin of the Legion.
Oh, that's
with
bold.
I know.
Now, did you know that they were the analogs? Did you know? Did you pick that up as you were reading it?
Oh yeah.
I did not until I read the letter column where one of the letter columns said, oh, they're, and it should be obvious. They're the younger brother and the younger brother and the twin sister. And then you have Tellus, who was even mentored by Saturn, I should have picked it up and I no idea. It just completely went right over my head. For as in-depth as I can get with these things, it just totally nothing. Nothing.
That was the one thing. It was like, I like that. I like that aspect. I liked how Paul was getting a bit of attention on his home world. I thought that was pretty neat. This introduction of a new Gil Dishpan character that has elemental powers. Okay. It was fine, but that's why I say it kind of mirrored that. The original founders bonded over saving Brand, right? And here's a planet that's being attacked, and so they deal with. It's a very loose connection, but I was just like, oh, okay. I was just looking for things to connect, given that this is a sort of Trinity story.
Yeah, I mean, it had some interesting things. I don't know what the heck is going on with Lightning Lass flirt. This is the second issue where she's flirting with him. Put aside the age thing. It's the future. Okay, whatever. But he's not responding to it, right?
Well,
and I mean, he's responding to it in a confused manner. He's not
confused or scared. Or
both. Yeah. Someone in the letter column said, "Oh, they're flirting with." I was like, "There's no flirting going on his way to her. He's out of his league, and she's and I was trying to think of to go back to the rite of passage thing. Is she seeing him in a new way? But why? Why none of this really feels out of the blue, and I know that there are some wrap-ups to this. I know there's something coming that kind of puts all this into question. If the purpose is to make us feel uncomfortable, job well done. And that's my, I'm saying that with hindsight, I know some things. So, but even though I do know that, it still is like, this is not right.
What? Yeah, go continue with that thought. I'm curious.
She's just totally acting out of character, and I feel like what it is. I don't want to say too much. I feel like what I want to say is just because I know what happens.
Oh, okay.
And like in my notes, I wrote she's like It feels like she is acting in the way some boy or Timberwolf would, and you want to question why. And right now with what we're given, I can't really say anything because it's not in the scripts. Give me another issue or two, or if it comes out later, like the resolution, then it's like, okay, now I see why it's happening. But right now, if we were in 1988 reading this for first, I would say, what is going on? this is not right.
Especially given that how close her and Vi had been becoming, and coded this or that, but they seem to be spending awful lot of time together, and there was speculation at the time. And so how does that play into this situation? So I have an idea about what this could mean, but I also don't know what you're referring to.
Okay.
So I'd be very curious to see how this plays out. But I agree with you. It seems a bit uncomfortable. It seems very cougar like behavior, if I can say that. But I mean, and it's the younger brother of a person you as Ayla have been serving with on the Legion for a very long time, because she's been Lightning Lass before, Light Lass all those years, and now returning to the team. I don't know. It's like if these characters were older and she were a guy, I'd be saying midlife crisis situation going on here, but that's not the case. So yeah.
I think what this sequence gives me, though, is I think Tellus comes across well.
Yes.
In all of this, Levitz seems to enjoy writing the more alien characters and questioning things about what we take for granted, either as humanoids in the future or Legionnaires in the future. He's also affected by the conspiracy and throws that in. It feels like it's almost like out of place when he brings it up, but it's like, okay, well, no, that's what he's feeling, right? Like and especially because he's the one who quote unquote discovered it, and it featured one of his mentors, and he's like, Blok is naive, so he has naive thoughts about what the Legion should be, and here's this conspiracy that he got wrapped up into. So he comes across very well.
Yeah, I agree. I was just trying to find, there was a great, yes, here we go. It's later. This is on page 23. Well, it starts on 22. They're flying to the source of these earthquakes. But there's a conversation between Tellus and Magnetic Kid about the how Braille was
stripped.
The strip mining and all that. Yeah. Tellus has these the Levitz commentary that we've been noticing about commerce and politicians and things like that. So he makes Tellus makes that comment about what they're doing to the world, the digitized differences in a credit balance that they would never spend. They might have had nobler motives, Tellus, Magnetic Kid says. It was a long time ago. This is what I want to get to. Ayla then says, "You can never tell what people's motives really are, can you, kid?" And then Tellus goes, "I find it sufficient to judge them by their actions, Lightning Lass." And so when I first read that, I'm like, oh, she's hinting at Magnetic Kid in the way that she is motivated in her flirting with him. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're not quite getting it. I'm going to be I'm going to make another comment. But then I get to the next thing and I'm like, oh, Tellus misunderstood. No, I read that wrong. This is, or maybe Ayla's has a couple different levels here. Maybe it is both. Maybe it is, hey, pay attention to what I'm saying about you. But it's also a comment about Magnetic Kid's vote in the previous issue against Brainy. And then Tellus is like, he picks up on that. And I thought, if that's the case, Tellus is a lot more intelligent than I think a lot of his pals on the Legion take him for.
Oh, sure.
And we are not often given examples of this, and I think this is a really good one.
I mean, he says it earlier when he's communicating with one of the beasts. My mind has as much in common with the animal's thought processes as with yours, Magnetic Kid. Though Great Mother Ocean, forgive me, I must admit theirs are far more denser than I thought possible, even for a land dweller. I mean, like, I know he's talking about the creatures, but it's almost like he's talking about the humans. I mean,
Yeah.
he's come out of this a little, it's not quite evident, but I feel like he's, not that he's troubled, he's like seems a little more cautious than before. Like something woke up in him a tiny bit of like,
oh yeah,
this conspiracy does not sit well with him.
No, I can just with this issue alone, I can totally see him feeling a bit jaded about his teammates and humanoids in general, especially with what you just read.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely if I don't know where Tellus goes in the next several issues, but I could tell if the volume were to continue on, I could totally see him leaving the Legion.
Yeah.
Given another situation.
And again, through the lens of rite of passage, I mean, he left his home world, right? And he's always talking about it. He talks about it in here, like planets do things, our planet is constantly shifting and moving, like to be a Legionnaire is to be a rite of passage for him. And maybe he needs to go back, I could see him having a negative experience as a Legionnaire, So yeah, I just thought he came across very well, and it must be why Blok doesn't get these are things Blok would come up with, although he's a little bit dumber than Tellus is. So, not to be blunt about it. Tellus is more interesting because he's a telepath and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who's more denser, the metallic monsters or Blok?
Yeah.
Forgive me, fans of Blok. I'm not suggesting that Blok is lesser than. Although I will say, Peter, I'm thinking of doing something on my website, Legion related, and so I was thinking about certain Legionnaires, and I don't want to give too much away, but I may put that out there, and Blok is impacted by what it is that I'm terribly hinting at.
There's also some interesting storytelling stuff in here, because I saw some reviews where they were like, my God, this just all comes out of nowhere. And like, what's going on? What's happening? And it's like, and they mean the earthquake stuff. Like if you just read the dialogue, you can kind of, it does make you feel like they come into the scene with prior knowledge, but we don't. Readers aren't given a reason why they're here unless you really pay attention. Like the guy that's honoring Magnetic Kid says, like something like, what an honor it is that we are proud to note, especially pleased that in our moment of need, Magnetic Kid was chosen to lead Lightning Lass and Tellus here. And then when the earthquakes happen, in a panel that I'm like, I'm not sure who's talking. I don't know if Magnetic Kid is under the pile of all those people. This is worse than any of the descriptions the science police gave us. So it's like, okay, there was a crisis. There was a crisis that they are responding to. It's just, we didn't get one of those Paul Levitt's captions that said why they're here, So, because even I was like, because the previous issue has a scene with Lightning Lass and Magnetic Kid, so I went back to that. I was like, is it brought up in that sequence? No, that's a whole other thing, as far as I know, right? Unless they are connected in some way, I don't know yet. But when I read it again the second time, I went, oh, yeah, it's here. The information's here. You just got to pay attention.
Yeah. I admit I glossed over that connection initially, but because I just thought, oh, the whatever, for whatever reason, Braille is honoring Paul with this what do they call it, the gyroglide, which to our world, he says, which I thought was a really cool, key to the city analog type thing. But yeah, it's right there, and I like that. I like it's how it's more subtle, and we don't need those typical captions to lead us by the nose into the narrative.
Yeah.
And I really, the thing I really like about this opening sequence on Braille is how much ceremony is part of being a Legionnaire. We often don't get that, and how when a Legionnaire's homeworld is in need, that Legionnaire is the one who leads the way. Right. Leads the charge, and some Legionnaires would do better than others. And so I was curious, what did you think of Paul's performance in this sequence?
I don't think he performed at all. Like, it just happened, and then Tellus came. Like I said, Tellus was the one that was like, let's just do this, and I don't know. Yeah, I just don't. I don't like Magnetic Kid, so he doesn't come across well ever.
Well, and at the end there too, Lightning Lass compliments him again, but on his leadership ability in the crisis. But yeah, when you read through it, yeah, he does things, but he's not leading it. Tellus is the one who saved the day in that sequence at the end. Not Magnetic Kid. I'm like, what are you talking about, Ayla?
He was the one who figured out through the creature's mind of where to go. Then when the tornado kicked in, he pushed his teammates away. Tellus pushed his teammates away so they would, get out of the fracas, like, yeah, like I'm not saying he was, it's not like Magnetic Kid didn't do anything like you said, but yeah, he's Magnetic Kid. He's a wet mop. I just don't like the character.
So you don't feel that anything in this sequence has built him up a little bit more to make him more palatable for you?
No, because like I said, it's like what I said before, they're doing all this pomp and circumstance, and it just feels like it's for show. And I might be reading into it, but Paul Levitt's, the caption that he gives and talks about Braille as going through a perpetual depression because it's a planet that's rich in metal resources, but in the future they're trying, there's other things that they don't need the metal quite anymore, right? Which I find a little hard to believe, but whatever. So here comes a Legionnaire, not just one. This planet is one of 4 planets that has more than one Legionnaire. Oh, it's a time to celebrate. Okay, let's celebrate. Like, let's give these people some hope. And this poor schmuck is just sitting there like, okay, thank you. Cosmic Boy, he would have been like, okay, great. Give some words. He founded the Legion. My God, So, and then you have Lightning Lass doing what she's doing. And then you have Tellus doing, just outwitting Magnetic, just spiraling him with his intelligence and his observations, his observational skills. Like, so yeah, it's no wonder what happens to this guy.
When you were talking about the performative nature of this ceremony, I was thinking, I wonder if that the leader guy, whatever, is like, I'm gonna really build Paul up here. I mean, it's a great idea, depressed world. It's a show, make him happy. That's great. It's bread and circus, right? And yet, Cosmic Boy, as far as we know, has never done this. So maybe it's a little dig at Cosmic Boy for not not showing up anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, the politics of the 30th century.
It's not my favorite sequence. They're not, other than Tellus. Like, I like Lightning Lass when she's with Violet during this time. So that's another reason. That's another strike against it. So, I think they're just playing with something, and again, I don't remember where all this winds up, so I can't comment more than that.
One of the things that occurred to me as I was reading this, like I said before, the whole Violet Lightning Lass relationship, and I believe we've talked about before how Levitz was like, that wasn't. Oh yeah, it was something in the Legion Companion that I read. He was not consciously aware of it or whatever, and I think you called bull on that. But keeping that idea in mind that he was oblivious or not willing to admit it anyway, maybe this is evidence of that, at least at first. Maybe he became aware of it later, but throwing Violet at Magnetic Kid, what are the motives there? Why
Lightning Lass at Magnetic Kid.
What'd I say?
You said Violet.
Oh, sorry. Yes, exactly.
Or it's just Levitz like hearing readings and people's comments and going, well, let me do this to show that she's not.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As a reaction to that, that's would be unfortunate, but okay. Yeah. Or yeah.
I was gonna say, or it's her, or it's Lightning Lass doing that to shake, to sort of like suss out for herself what she is and what she isn't, and what she wants and what she doesn't want.
Yes, exactly. That was what I was hinting at. To see where this is going. That was my thought, was that she's reacting to something she's discovering about herself, and is taking kind of a reactive step back. Wait, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah. Because you got to remember, Violet like jumped all in, right? Like Violet, she was sleeping with some boy. She was like, I'm in. When she found her new confidence. So, but Ale is different. She's different. So,
the only other thing I just want to point out, that we have this a different Gil Dishpan who has elemental powers. Well, that's new. But where is this? Where is this going? Does this have to do? No, I was going to say, does it have to do with the League of Super Assassins? No, it doesn't. That's a different storyline.
Well, I mean, we had a Kund last time who had technology and was trying to get the labyrinth because someone was there that he loves. Now we have this new character. So is something building? I just don't. I don't remember. I don't know. So I can't comment.
Yeah. Why is he? What's the motive for causing these earthquakes? There's nothing said in here. Was he trying to blackmail Braille? Cause destruction for what reason? I'm trying to see some of the dialogue here. That there's not much from the character. Puzzling enough that humans should find me here, yet a Hycranian. He says a kind of a racist thing. Uses his powers, and then being resourceful, interrupting, basically having business to conclude. Highwinder does, and humans or Hycranians stand not in the elemental's way. So he races off. So it's not the same situation as the Kun trying to get captured, but yeah. Are we just so used to the setup and build up, and then the climax, that we are expecting something between these two things with Levitz? Are we seeing a pattern that actually isn't there?
Maybe.
Yeah. But it's fun to suss out.
Yeah. It's nice being in uncharted territory.
That is true.
The only other comment I had was I thought the artwork was really solid. And by that, I mean, I thought DeCarlo's inks were more thoughtful here. I thought they made more sense. They didn't stand out as much as they did last issue. It was a nice visual read. Yeah,
I agree. I had the same reaction to it as well. I liked how, as well, I like the panoramic, more or less scenes that Giffen's throwing in here, especially on Braille. You get a sense of the world, and I mean, Carl Gaffer did a great job at distinguishing between this set of rocks and that set of rocks. So at least we have something interesting to look at on the page. But I just like how Giffen is trying to set the stage with a lot of these things.
Yeah, he's great at that.
All right, are we done with this?
Yeah.
With the issue?
I think we are, yeah. One more comment about the letter column. A letter writer wrote in about like, oh, everybody's splitting off. It seems so sad and dour and, this, that. And Paul was like, okay, we promise a definitive ending to the storyline by the end of the summer. Now, this was in issue 57 about this issue. Issue 57 was released in December of 88. Paul Levitz probably wrote that response like in September of 88, maybe. Like, it takes a while for these books to get put together. So I'm like, which summer is he talking about? And is he talking about the end of the entire volume already? Is that what he means? Oh, we promise a definitive ending to this storyline by the end of the summer. By the end of next summer is the end of the series. So I wasn't quite sure what he was meaning there. And like, again, another one of those, be careful what you wish for. If you want an ending to this, I'll give you an ending.
Well, what storyline are they referring to? But this letter writer,
they were writing about this issue 52 in issue 56.
But it's more of a reaction to the events of the conspiracy ending, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's very ambiguous.
Yeah. I like to try to suss out timelines of things. So, did they know in July 88 that 11 more issues, that was going to be it?
I would think they'd have to.
Yeah, because they got to start the next things. I mean, we're not that far away from other things. So if they didn't know, maybe they knew it could have been Levitz's. Maybe he thought he was going to be done, but the series was going to go on. There could have been some of that. But yeah, it's a very cryptic thing that he said there. So
maybe he thought it'd be done by 60. I don't know. Yep.
Yeah. So
all right.
Anyway. All right. Yeah, we are done with that issue. Now we move on to the next segment, Legionnaires in and around the DC Universe. We're going to talk about Who's Who Update 88, issue number 4, the final issue of that update, as well as the final issue of Who's Who in general for our terms, because we also are talking about Who's Who and the Legion of Superheroes issue 7, which is also the final issue of that. And there won't be another Who's Who for a few years, but in terms of what we do, we won't have a dedicated Who's Who issue to talk about anymore. Now, what we may do is just continue on with like entries from Who's Who in the Legion of Superheroes. I think we should do that. Keep picking new characters to talk about, which is fun. For Who's Who Update 88, issue 4, we're talking about Wanderers and Wildfire. And for Who's Who in the Legion of Superheroes, issue 7, talking about Tornado Twins. Yay! Weight Wizard. Didn't even know that was a thing. And Zoraz. Again, didn't even know that was a thing. And then we may have a passing couple of thoughts on Adventures of Superman 445, which features the return of Brainiac. All right, Wanderers, Wildfire. What did you think? What did you learn?
So, I mean, we have read and talked about Wanderers issue 1. And so this is just reflecting like the new status quo. This entry is reflecting the new status quo of the Wanderers in the DC universe future. And it was, so this was really just a synopsis basically of that opening issue. What I did not recall, and I forgot to go check, and maybe you know, Peter, is that there's something that's said about them If I can't find it, the print is too small and I don't have my glasses. If we have kids, they'll be monsters, and so they can't have relationships. And I don't remember that being. Maybe that comes later in the series.
Maybe.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't know what. Do you know what issue is out by the time this Who's Who issue is out? I'm just wondering how far into the series we are when this comes out. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter. But that's the only new thing, because otherwise, this is just if you've read issue 1 of Wanderers, you pretty much get this.
Yeah, we're five
agree?
issues in.
Okay.
Yeah, for Wanderers. Yeah, I mean, I read it, and then as I was reading, I was like, oh no, am I going to be spoiled? So yeah, it's fine. It's really just an update. Just because they had an entry in the first volume
of their original forms.
Yeah.
And the art here was by Dave Hoover and Robert Campanella.
Right. And they're the ones who are on the book at this point. And the same thing with Wildfire. It's not necessarily that he got any kind of necessarily new information. It's because he has a new look, which is not even going to last. This new look is not even going to last,
I was wondering about that.
It gets a tweak.
So on that one, and this is Keith Giffen doing this, which I love it. I love this. I love this look.
Yeah.
Comparing it to how Wildfire looked in the previous issue, 51. I mean, the head is close, but he wasn't in uniform in that issue. And I really like this. I like the color design for the most part. I wouldn't have minded that this was his new look going forward, but you say it's not. So
yeah, it gets a tweak.
It says in here that his form is antimatter energy via Quizlets. That's my note. I want to make sure where it says here. Recently, so Wildfire has since operated using a variety of containment suits. Recently, Quizlet constructed for him an anti-energy body, far more humanoid in form. So is this what the image that we see here of him in his uniform, is it actually a uniform, or is it just is he showing us what looks like a uniform out of his body? Like, is he actually naked is what I'm really getting at here. So he's not wearing a containment suit.
Right. It's his form. Yeah. Now I don't know I don't know if it's like Firestorm, he just creates his own suit or that I don't know. But yeah, he's not his whole body is now a containment suit. Yeah.
So when we saw him last issue, he's not wearing a containment suit.
He's like
with clothes over the top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That I would not have guessed that from last issue. So that was, I knew that obviously we know that Quizlet has been helping him with his appearance, but when we see it, it's usually just his head. But I guess that makes sense. I mean, how could it be just his head if it's not? Yeah. I guess I didn't really think about it. I just assumed he was able to somehow change his head without a helmet on as part of his containment suit. But that doesn't really make sense.
I mean, this is going back to issues 36, and then he reveals himself to 37. And in 36, he's got a humanoid form as opposed to just that floaty blob thing. So what I took away, and this was actually in the previous entry from volume 1, they kind of make it so that they're really calling it antimatter, not just anti-energy.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on this.
But I like what it says here. Constantly interacts atomically with the positive matter energy of our universe in miniature nuclear reactions. So it's like, oh, when he's that floating blob thing, he should be like snap, crackle, and pop. He should be just constantly. It should just be noise.
Yeah.
like walking on bubble wrap, you know. Like I think that's awesome.
I
I
mean,
think that's great.
yeah, totally. That was one of the changes that they made, or references they made, that I thought was really cool. But looking at this image here on the page where they do show him as in his blob form with the containment suit below him, there's a little bit of Kirby crackle there. You could interpret that as that, right?
Right.
So that's a really cool idea, and it gives us an idea of, because when he was first introduced, I have to go back and read that, but throughout his history, I should say, Wildfire is either referred to as anti-energy or antimatter in some form, or some form of antimatter. And it always bugged me that they use the terms interchangeably. And what they really mean is the interaction of antimatter and positive matter. And that is what his energy is. So calling it anti-energy makes no sense whatsoever. So I agree. I'm really glad that they focused on that. But as we'll see as people who read the Who's Who in Legion of Superheroes #7, while the entries are very similar, they are different. There are some different wording there. So I think they go back to that whole anti-energy thing.
Yeah.
And speaking of his costume, that is changed in that Who's Who. And I did not look up to see which one came out first, or did they come out the same week? And so on that one, just real quick, is the uniform that we see in Who's Who in the Legion, is that the uniform that he takes on? Because this is the one that's basically a one color bodysuit with some lines going down.
Yeah, the update came first, a week before the.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I do not like that other costume. I prefer the one that's in the Who's Who update issue.
All right, so then Who's Who in the Legion of Superheroes issue 7. So not only the characters, but the cover.
I was going to say.
By no less than 10 artists, some of them writers like Mark Waid and Brian Augustin and some other, Mike Carlin draws a few of them too. We get about like 270. I have 271 characters. And this is the first time that I realized that these characters are in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I noticed that as I was looking at this. It's like, that's really cool that they did that.
Yeah.
Now, did you count? I forget the name of that two-headed guy.
Yep.
As one character or two?
Two.
Oh, okay.
I basically took, I did my gazintas, right? How many going down, how many going across, minus who's not in the title logo. Because there's spaces missing, right?
Right.
From where the title logo is in 271. Yeah, I mean, it's a while back I emailed Eric that Ty Templeton's version of this cover was on Heritage. So he did a handful of these characters, and the original art for that was on Heritage, and it showed all these characters just kind of like, in a block form, but all of his characters are not grouped together, so they had to cut it up and move it around. And same thing with whoever else drew, other characters. I looked at this and I was like, yeah, see, there's no way. First of all, some of the artwork is not that great. It's small. I look at it, I'm like, who is that? But there's no way I could name all these characters, like,
oh no.
Yeah. This was Titans, that'd be different, but this is like, I'm like, who is this? And who is that? But I guess apparently most of these are in the actual Who's Who in the Legion entries. So,
I figured that was the case.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I wondered if I'm sure you would have told me before now, but I did have a thought of how are we going to go through this cover, and then that'd be another 2 hours.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, Colleen Duran had some things in here. You already said Mark Waid. Who's Kez? Are you familiar with?
I'm not.
who that
No,
is?
I meant to look
Okay.
that up. Yeah.
Me too. But yeah, this was a fun way to celebrate the Legion, but also this series, the end of this series. And that prompted me. This is why I chose the three that I did, because we have the end of the Who's Who update. We have the end of the Who's Who in the Legion of Superheroes. And there were some characters in there that had an end to them that is described in the entries.
So according to Mike's Amazing World, Kaz is Keith Stan Wilson, who did a lot of inking on like Elementals and Badger, and then on Power of the Atom. Did some artwork here and there, but not much. Apparently is the plotter and inker for a title known as Hammerlock, which featured Chris Sprouse on the artwork, co-plotter.
Interesting.
Uh,
Yeah, I am familiar with this person's work then, because I read pretty much the entire run of the Elementals.
He was, let's see, also co-plotter with Tom Joyner on Scarlet, which is like a vampire series in the 90s, early 90s from DC. That's who that is.
All right. Should we talk about the feature? The final feature?
Yeah, that was odd.
It was odd.
It was a way to get to showing the parents of the Legion, which I thought that was cool. You know, like the Legion parents that I'm assuming have been shown over the many years. I mean, really the only ones I recognize are the Allens and Dawnstar's parents, you know, because they're like the most recent. Maybe one or two of the other ones, but I was like, oh, I guess these are people that have shown up over the years. So it's kind of cool, but it's like you did this through this weird television show about the Legion Academy, but it's not the Legion Academy. That was strange.
Yeah.
It was a strange
yeah.
opening. I didn't like that.
Oh, so I didn't like it in the same way, because the focus should be on the parents, right? I couldn't come up with a story regarding the parents getting together.
Yeah.
Think of the conversations that we would hear.
Yeah.
Right. But what I did like about this though was this trailer for a movie, you know, and I just thought that was interesting that. Because at first I was like, what am I, what's going on here? And you know, it's the way that who drew this. So Ty Templeton, Kurt Swan, Kurt Schaffenberger, and Arn Starr are the credits for this. Oh, right, Ty Templeton's the writer. Yeah. Okay, that's what confused me. But it's very cinematically laid out. You know, this reads like a trailer, like you would see, right, with a Legion ring and getting more prominent in there, and there's a whole romance and betrayal, and I really dug that. I like this idea of the Legion, not even necessarily the big guns, if you will, of the Legion being the focus of entertainment media in the 30th century. I just thought that was a cool idea. And then they totally squander it by going into two panels of a commercial. Okay, yeah. So they still have commercials. There's still capitalism in the 30th century. Okay, but that was two panels that I feel like were wasted. There is a focus, like you said, on the Legion Academy. We see some buildings, Montauk Point, and then the connection is Jim. Sorry, Jay, of the Long Live the Legion podcast. It's Jim, not Gim. I just listened to an episode of theirs, and they were having that debate again. Anyway, Jim's dad, it was the consultant, and that's who did the interjective commentary during that trailer, because he's speaking to his wife, because they are there for some sort of get together with the Legion parents. Okay, great. Why do the parents get together? What's going on? What are they talking about? What's the importance of this? How does this impact the Legion? Oh, come on.
Yeah. I mean, other features kind of did the same thing. You know, we were introduced to the actress that played Phantom Girl, and there was a lot of telemedia. You know, I get that. You know, I just thought it was odd. I thought it was an odd.
Yeah.
Odd
I did.
opening.
Yeah. I did like, the other thing I liked about this was the whole costume thing with the costume designer for the movie.
Sure. Yeah.
Making comments about the Legion stuff. Jim's dad, I don't remember his name. Really, you design Legionnaires uniforms? He asks her. Heavens, no. Some of the members have very individual ideas as to what they should wear. Your son, for example, Mr. Allen, I've tried with him. And they show his classic red and blue suit. With that eagle as the chest insignia. Well, his isn't the worst by any stretch, she says. Oh, and who would that be? Somebody asks. No, I shouldn't. I can't. No. Okay. And then shows Karate Kid and Princess Projectra in what I wanted to go look, Peter, was did they actually appear in these, or were these designs from readers that were submitted? And I forgot to go do that. Because I actually don't mind Karate Kid's white and black look in this image, but you know. And then two other things. The costume designer is like, my first outfit was a very special one when Duo Damsel came to me to change the outfit. They developed a fabric that was able to split up and merge together into fabulous new patterns when she did her superpower thing. I'm proud to say that costume stopped a war. And again, I forgot to go back and shoot. Maybe we need to have an addendum next episode, because I want to look these things up. I'll have to do that. But then we also find out that Wildfire's containment suit usually have some dazzling designs to them, and Brainiac 5's coveralls have a darling little repeating pattern. And this is response to radiation patterns that apparently this designer can see, but nobody else can. I thought, well, that's a neat idea.
Yeah.
To throw in there.
If they had focused more on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And can you imagine? All these parents are there, and the Allens just excuse themselves so they can watch this freaking show. What kind of hosts are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Privileged.
Well, I mean, we are talking about the former UP president and the first gentleman. Sorry.
Yeah. So. All right. Let's go backwards here. Let's go to Zoraz first.
Oh, okay.
Character I didn't know existed. Even though I think I have that issue, I just never read it. Very much like Eric the Red at Marvel in the X-Men universe, where different characters take a certain identity, and it was Cyclops and it was someone else, and this is an identity the Legionnaires have for training purposes. I was like, oh, okay. Probably only showed up once. Who knows?
Hold on a second. I have some notes here. Yeah, so Superboy 218, I have that issue. And I think it was actually Superboy who was wearing the suit when they were initiating Tyrock.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it does say here. Absorbency Boy took over the suit to prove he was a better candidate. That's it. Okay, I think that's it. Never mind. Strike that whole Superboy thing. It was Absorbency Boy in this. But then it does say something about Zoraz reappeared periodically, I guess, until Quizlet joined the game, thus reducing Zoraz to a pile of monatomic dust. Has that happened? I don't recall this at all.
No, I think that happened off panel.
Oh, geez. Well, they are trying to throw in new details that have never been before revealed. Okay. I would have liked to have seen that, actually.
Yeah, because I went back to the backup tale where Wildfire was training him, and he was like showing him how to do, like, what size mass could he go through and do things. And I thought maybe it would show up there, and unless I missed it, I didn't see it.
Yeah, yeah. That's a crazy design, too. I forget who drew that. Was it Grell? It's 218, so I think it has to be Grell.
Oh.
But yeah, it's got. I mean, look at the or the thigh belts and the tubing coming out of everywhere, and that weird winged helmet. It's like it's a mishmash of things. Why this suit, Legionnaires, to test people out? They sure like to. Given that we just read that that issue, that Superboy issue with Invisible Kid with the Long Live the Legion folks, where the Legionnaires dress up in costumes to break into the Legion headquarters to test security. They sure love to dress up. They sure love to cosplay.
Did we say who that was drawn by?
And man, that's the thing I don't like about this Who's Who is that they put it at the beginning and not on the drawing itself. Grant Mime,
Yeah.
who is also one of the artists for that opener. No, for the cover, sorry.
All right, Wait Wizard.
Yes. Adventure 344, Terry Tidwell and Jim Sanders III. Interesting. Never heard of them either. Nick Obershaw of Earth, mutant born with the ability to increase or decrease his own mass at will. I've never read that issue. I just the reason I chose it is because wait. I think we have talked about this issue because this is when the Legionnaires were prisoners. I think we had something that we looked at in relation to that issue. I don't remember exactly. Anyway, he's one of he's one of the captured prisoners who decides that he's going to go get help, and he decreases his weight and basically flies off, and he gets killed.
I know when I got to that ending, I was like, I never could have guessed where that ending was going to go.
I like this guy because I mean his appearance in Adventure is like, he's barely a character, right? But this gives him a little bit more substance, and he's basically Starboy and Lightlass put together. He could have replaced them on the team in a sense.
Definitely not a character. If you would have said, hey, what title does Wait Wizard belong to? I would have been like,
The Flash.
Yeah.
Definitely a Flash villain. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. The final one, Tornado Twins, Peter.
Yay.
I did choose this in part because of your love for the characters, and because I was looking at obviously the Time Trapper. If you're talking about if the theme is the end of something, Time Trapper is an obvious one. But we've already talked a lot about the Time Trapper. So
Right.
The Tornado Twins, Dawn and Dawn Allen.
They're just characters that I enjoy. They eventually really get mixed up into the Barry Allen Flash legacy, the Legion legacy later. I mean, their offspring are far more important and known than the Tornado Twins themselves, but I just like them. I just like them as part of the future 30th century band of characters that are not necessarily legionnaires but have powers, and they could act as heroes, and then they have ties to the 20th century. And at this time, the notion that they are Barry Allen's kids not quite set in stone just yet, even though we are post-crisis. So that won't happen until Mark Waid and the Flash and Impulse, and then we get Excess from the Tornado Twins, and then the whole Thawne thing gets wrapped up in, the rivalry between Barry Allen's family and the Thawne family. I mean, it gets to be a little bit too much. I think Waid went a little too deep with the whole twin thing and Cobalt Blue and all that. But I like the Tornado Twins. They're purple. They look cool.
So I had not read their introductory issue, Adventure 373. Mm-hmm. So I went and read it. And boy, at first they come across as real jerks, which,
of course,
typical for Legion stories, right? But it's really all to somehow get the Legion to help celebrate Flash Day, which why they didn't know about, the Legionnaires didn't know about Flash Day, I cannot imagine. But it was just one of those typical Silver Age Legion stories where people are playing pranks basically, just to have some sort of plot.
Yeah, Jim Shooter.
Yeah. But I mean,
drawn by Win Mortimer, who drew this entry. So.
Oh, okay. But with a cover by Neil Adams, and boy, that as Neil Adams would often remind us when he was still with us, his covers sold comics, and boy, that one is pretty good too.
Yeah, my old store when I lived in South Philly had it on the wall, so I was like, "Oh, I need that issue."
So, what was your first introduction to the Tornado Twins? Was it this issue, or was it something else?
It probably was the Legion Baxter annual, The Mystery of Who Shot Laurel Kent, because they are in that. But I didn't necessarily recognize who they were, what they were. Probably not until what Mark Waid did with them eventually. And, no, it probably was 5 years later, now that I think about it. Because they're in 5 years later briefly. And then working my way back. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Don't they have an appearance in Crisis? Like a panel or something?
I don't think so.
Because that's what I was thinking was my first exposure to them. And something made me think that it was a reference. Maybe it was a scene set in the 30th century or something. I don't know. But that's my recollection. I could be wrong. And then it was... as I searched for back issues, I found out and saw covers on, this is way before online. I don't know. I probably had to have seen that cover, that issue in some long box in a comic store when I was 12 or something.
Right.
And seeing Neil Adams in that doing that cover is like, who are these folks?
Yeah, I just like them. They have an appearance in Superboy 200.
Yes.
And then Legion of Superheroes Annual #1.
Oh, maybe it was that.
Yeah,
now that you say that.
That's the Who Shot Laurel Kent issue.
No, wait. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm thinking of Legion 300. That anniversary issue.
I don't think they're in that one.
I think maybe in the background, that final shot, that 2-page spread.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I definitely saw them in something. And then once I realized they were Legion related, then I was like, okay, I got to find out more about these these two. And I never read all that Flash stuff that you were referencing. So.
Oh, no? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Goodbye, Who's Who.
There you go. All right. Last thing, close out with Adventures of Superman 445. we're just sort of tracking Vril Doc's Brainiac's return to the post-Crisis universe. And this issue takes place after the Supergirl saga. Superman is, very despondent and not himself. And then there's this story going on about missing homeless people that Jimmy Olsen is writing about. And it's because Vril Doc's in the body of Milton Vine is trying to stabilize his own body. His mind is too powerful. It's making the body, fall apart, disintegrate. So that brings Milton Vine into conflict with Cat Grant of all people and Jimmy Olsen, and then Superman comes to save the day, and he's reeling from all his emotional turmoil, and that's how he winds up defeating Vril Dox. Not a particularly great issue. The artwork is great by Jerry Ordway. I can't say the story is that great by Jerry, or maybe I should say the dialogue. The dialogue is very on the nose, flat, just like you have way too many words for what your artwork is doing, Jerry. He's definitely learned more from Roy Thomas than, say, Marv Wolfman, I just think he's way too wordy.
Oh yeah, because Jerry Ordway wrote and drew. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
It
Totally agree.
feels different than previous issues. Dennis Janke is your inker. Petrus Scotesi is your colorist. Alberto Guzman is your letterer. So, I mean, even the story itself, I was like, oh, okay. It really doesn't mean anything. It's just the next.
Mm-hmm.
I think they wanted to do it more to show what effect it would have on Superman, but even that wasn't a lot. It was just a page or two.
I was surprised about that. I figured it'd be a lot more about this. But what we did get, I'm looking at page 11 with Superman sitting in his old room, I think, in Smallville, and it's the lights are out. He has the only light is coming from the window he's sitting in front of, and just that stark contrast of showing, and the way that it's Ordway focused on the S at first and then pulls back to see Clark draped in his cape sitting on the chair alone. Oh my God, so good.
That's what I mean. He should just let his artwork tell the story. The sequence where Brainiac is in Superman's mind and you're going through all this turmoil. Oh, it's too much for Superman to bear, and this and that. I was like, let's see some of that. Shut up. It was 8 panels of just those. Yeah. The two of them, it's too much.
It was interesting to read this because I've never read this issue. Because as I've infamously said before, I was reading Superman, but not Adventures of. And so I missed this whole other side of what was going on in Superman's life. And now I got to go start reading these on the app, I think, if they're all there, just to have a contrast to what Byrne was doing on the other side. But I really like, because I don't recall that Byrne really addressed this aspect of what happened in the Supergirl saga.
Well, he was gone by then.
Oh, that's right. He was gone.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't remember now. Maybe I dropped Superman after that. And I never got any of this until he goes off into space, and then I started picking those issues up.
Right.
No, right. I didn't get the lead into that. Yeah, and man, I know I've said something before about not really liking Ordway's work in some cases, but this is phenomenal. Along with the color artist, this is just so good.
Yeah,
yeah. Take out half of the words, and this would be a much better issue.
I agree.
And I also like, this has nothing to do with Superman, but there's a lot of focus on Cat Grant and her drinking and her flirtation with Jimmy and commentary about Byrne trying to set that up in the first place. I love that. It's like what's that term that we would used to use, subtweeting?
Yeah.
This is some sub comicking. I don't know, because they definitely put that or nip that in the bud.
Thankfully.
Yeah. But it did really make me actually start to like Cat Grant, because I never liked her in the Byrne stuff that I read. So definitely gave her more depth to her character, even if it may have come from nowhere. I don't know if it did or not, but. So I guess in the way there is some parallels there between Cat Grant and Superman and what they're going through. So that's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A layered characterization approach.
I don't know where the Brainiac stuff goes. So...
I was just going to ask you that. So because is he free of the body at the end? Yeah. He is, because Milton finds body is destroyed in the no, it's not. Never mind.
Yeah.
I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It says he's alive, pretty busted up, but he'll live. I don't know how he could survive that, but whatever. Okay. So, but his body was breaking down.
It's a question of where did the mind go, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll see next issue.
No, I don't think we.
I
don't think we come back to it for maybe another 2 issues or so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
they're dragging it out. But that's okay.
That's it.
All right.
That brings us to the end of another Legion issue, another Legion episode. We talked about we are going to go right into issue 53 next time around, just to continue on with the story. And then
the annual?
And then the annual.
Okay. I got to get myself psyched up to actually have to read that.
Yeah, so we'll finally tackle the annual. And then we may have to talk about not only doing a Tales on the annual, but figuring out if we want to do like half of the series of the Wanderers. Maybe. So
sure. Although, so I did mention the fact that we talked about issue 1 earlier. Peter knows this, but I also read issue 2, and things started looking up for me for this book because I wasn't all that impressed with issue 1. So yeah, I'm sort of looking forward to it.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, I have all the issues. I got to read them at some point.
Right. We'll see what the Tales does. Like if the annual doesn't destroy us, then we'll go on. Maybe we'll do the Wanderers, or maybe we need to get back to the title. So we'll figure it out.
Yep.
So, okay. Good episode. Good conversation. Yep.
Yes, as always. Thank you for doing this with me. I look forward to this every time we do it. I was about to say every month, but although we've been doing that, haven't we?
Yeah, we've pretty good record so far. So we're gonna, we're not gonna make, again. It's better if we don't make promises, because then we tend to come back sooner rather than later.
Yep.
We'll figure it out as we go. Thank you for all the feedback. Continue to do so.
Yes.
We want to hear from you, and we'll be getting news of a new Legion title probably soon. Next month, I'm hoping. And we'll see how we want to play with that. And then we have some other plans. So stay with us. Keep with us.
And that, speaking of Tim, our email writer, that should address, in a sense, a question that Tim had for us. So we'll get to that later.
Right. Okay. If they want to send you feedback, where can they send you feedback?
They can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. And Peter, where were they? How can they contact you?
Peter at thedailyrios.com. And as always, long live
The
Legion
Project Podcast.
See ya.
Bye-bye.